Just roughly and quickly go through the steps. Well, we can always rely on this pen tool, but sometimes if you want to work a little quicker, you could use these basic shapes here. And I found the rounded rectangle tool is kind of helpful in this situation because it's basically a tapered rounded rectangle for my train here or locomotive. And well, I just click and drag so you have a rectangle here. Okay, and maybe I could do like a tapered shape. Whether you want to hold your shift key, it's up to you. Most of the time I do because I want to make sure that I move horizontally and keeping it square. Now you can use your direct selection tool to move your anchor point, or even tweaking its elements of the whole object. So be very mindful of that. Okay, dark arrow, whole object, white arrow, the little things inside it. Okay, so now by using this plus, right, the pen plus. Okay, zoom out a little bit. For example, the guy is helping me. I just want to keep it simple, so I add another anchor point here, and on the other side also where it says intersect. And now I press my A key to mimic the swelling in the middle of the train, of the height of the train. And well, since this one wasn't really a curved one, so you get a sharp edge. Whether you want that as a design, I have no opinion on that. But I'm trying to keep a streamlined surface, so I will consult my fourth version or mode of the pen tool, which is the anchor point tool, or used to call it convert anchor point something. And now you see this little arrow or inverted V. You could click on any anchor point and hold down and drag out. If it was a straight line, and then by doing so, you are converting it into a curve anchor point. And yeah, but well, remember, you don't want to reverse. Don't do that. You don't want to reverse the direction of travel. Okay, so just by doing basic things like that, I have a very good, a rough outline of the locomotive. Well, the next part is more of a subjective step. That, of course, I'm going after purple because this is obviously the same train, right? And what I would do sometimes, most of the time, is the eyedropper too. So the eye, okay, and pick the color from, well, obviously my design before the side view of the train of the locomotive. And now it turns out to be a gradient that I did earlier. And if you open up, well, with the object selected and open up the gradient palette on the right hand side here, well, this is different from the gradient tool on the left hand side. It's different. So on the right mostly is you go deeper and adjust your tools or define them, and on the left you just use your tools to draw things, right? And this one might not go so well with degree 0, so I would pick, for example, say 90 or even negative 90. If you want to try funny stuff, maybe negative 60, things like that. Well, I'm gonna stick with 90, and maybe not so bright on this one. Well, it depends, or really suggest, I guess, how the light, where the light source is coming from and reflecting off the train. And if I use a not so bright color, that might look more natural. Or you can play around with how fast. Pretty much I would call this the glossiness in analogy to a 3D material or 3D software. And this thing looks a little pink. Maybe I pick a different shade of purple here quickly, just doing so. And by defining positions of these flags, so you are allowing how much, how long these two colors gonna do the calculation and fade against each other. And well, if you move the sliders on top, you see this little star or rhombus shape, and you are dictating the ratio between the two. So you creating some bias against, or away or towards one of these colors. And if you click on the bottom and in an empty spot with the arrowhead with a plus sign, you create a new flag. And if you like what I've just done, if you've done that by mistake, just select it and click on the trash bin, and it will delete that stop or that flag. Okay, so this is how you create something a little more sophisticated, because you don't want a solid color that would look not cool. And keep that in mind. If you keep adding things like this, eventually you get more sense or degree of reality, right? Well, what I'm trying to do is, let me go to my whole layer, the front layer. What I want to do, well, this is not necessary, but most of the time I do. It's just to make it easier for myself, is I lower down my opacity to say 50% or 75 sometimes. So you want to still be able to see the color. Is that I still get to see through the reference, so I don't really have to go back and forth and turn on, turn off. So many objects to mess up around and keep turning on and off, just so much trouble. And it will save you so much trouble too if you just not this. I have to pick the correct layer, obviously, to just lower down the percentage of the opacity. And now I'll draw in with my pen too. Okay, just draw in this front plate here. Well, obviously I do not want to draw on the original path. I want to draw a second and another path, so then maybe I'll have to avoid clicking on adding a point on the path, so I can avoid that for the first point I click, and then don't have to do that so much the other 3 points afterward. And then I move that first one back into place. Whether I want to stroke, maybe, I don't know. And now see, already automatically put this gradient down. Maybe it's a little too much, so I am removing one of the flags. Okay, you can draw out the distance between the two, so it's more natural this way, or bias it to somewhere here. You need more of that tone. No, that's too much. Okay, so you can always fix this later on and come back and do some more stuff. But and that's pretty much the whole idea. And go on your own and carry on drawing in different tones with your gradient to help with the different layers, or even draw some layers without fill, just strokes, or just like this one. Okay, or just a line without the complete shape. Okay, then this part may be quite interesting, or I might get some questions. A solid glass, a solid rectangle, but with a hole or a glass. So you have two different segments between. So you draw two rectangles, right? Doesn't matter if they are filled or not. Preferably that you can fill with some colors, but the thing is, you go to objects menu, and then compound path and make. So once you've done this, they become a compound object. So just one object right? So, and well, of course, still you get the two paths separated, but as long as you keep them a compound object, so you can feel, well, you can see it's already done. Fill, for example, a gray color on top, in between them, then you will get a hole inside, and this is a well-defined shape for which area and which not to be filled. And of course, you still retain the paths, the two paths. I mean, so it takes more than one path. It could be more than two to make this a compound object or compound shape. Okay, and now I'm still fixing the outline or the inbound of the glass, so you have this kind of plastic connector between the body of the locomotive and the glass.